At Radair, your day doesn't stop just because your car needs service. Drop off your vehicle, and our experts handle everything from diag.
Todo, por favor, a mí mucho con demasiado de Katie Stone, por favor, póngame la alfombra, mi Katie Stone, por favor. Ay, 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 fuerte, fuerte, fuerte. Saludita a mi doña Olga, mi mucho, demasiado. Póngale la alfombra roja para mi doña Olga, por favor. Póngale la alfombra roja como le encanta a mi doña Olga. Hay una contrapiration ahí abajo fuerte que eso no se aguanta. No se aguanta, no se aguanta. Mi doña Olga ahí está con todo, mi doña Olga. Esto está que vuela. Israel Ramos, ahí está tirando duro Israel Ramos. Dice, viejo, usted lo único que se le olvida es filmar esa vaina del Polo Norte, la chiquilla bonita de Madruga Hermosa. Esos recursos los tiene, dice, congelado. Y no me hagas romper relaciones diplomáticas, por favor, y sacar mis plomos de alimento. Y punta, como dice mi mamá cocina, y aguante vara. Ay, ay, ay. Nah, que me la está tirando.
Y'all gonna run it. Y'all the largest population.
Vamos. Esto está fuerte.
Listen, you know what the most shameful thing, CT, is? That these countries had to come over here to America and let a white man give them a peace treaty. That's the most shameful thing in the world. Trump just ended a ceasefire between Congo and come on. Y'all trying to tell me that y'all had to come over here to these white people and ask for a ceasefire? Y'all shouldn't even been talking to them people. That's shameful, sir. Y'all don't run that country. Trump do. That's why they was over here talking to her. Hey, how you doing, sir? You know, you got your phone on, we're trying to give you peace. I was over here begging that. Come on, a ceasefire? You trying to tell me that y'all are incapable of sitting down at the table and working out y'all differences together? But you trying to tell me that Pan-Africanism works over there in that country, sir? Everything you keep saying is a contradiction. Oh, goddamn Pan-Africanism over there, man. Now back to this beautiful white history, CT. I might not like white people like that, but I can admit they did some beautiful stuff, even after. Yeah. You know, we're trying to talk this. Oh, I'm sorry, CT. I get mad at these pro-black sometimes. I always want to come up here, you know, Pan-Africanism and man. And black, hey, I mean, sis, that's cool. I don't think. But when you start talking all this Pan-Africanism, and I don't believe in it. It's a selling point, man. That's a selling point.
I'm pro-black, but I'm not anti anything else.
Hey,
people always they mix it up like, oh, you're pro-black, you hate white people, you hate others, and that's not true. I just want to improve my community.
I asked this question earlier, and I asked it 8 times, not today, but to other black people. I've never got an answer. I keep asking this one question. There's 3 groups of people that was involved in the slave trade. Why do y'all keep exempting the Africans? They sold you to the white people. If I'm going to be mad at white people for slavery, I'm going to be mad at the Africans because guess what? No slavery could have happened if y'all wouldn't goddamn selling it. I don't think the white man did anything bad, anything wrong. You want to tell you what happened over there back then? They had some ships. They pulled up. Y'all got slaves for sale? We buying it. That's what happened. Y'all goddamn y'all. No, I'm just saying, no. Africans want to make it seem like, oh, they kidnapped our people. No, stop that lie. Y'all sold y'all people. That's what happened. No, sir. We came with a receipt. Them Africans sold us, man. Let's stop with the whole they kidnapped us. Listen, white people cannot even survive in the interior of Africa. They couldn't survive. They had other blacks go get them.
Chill. The funny thing is, they were selling Africans to the Arabs for like thousands of years before they ever did it with the white man. They did it. Their business was just thriving. The white man just rolled up and was like, oh, people to be born here?
Y'all got slaves to say, oh, they probably heard the Arabs talking about it like, hey, man, we can buy about 3,000 slaves over there. Man, what y'all pay them? Man, we gave them some gunpowder, some mules, and some liquor. Oh, for real? I got a boat full of this over here, and I got some plantations that need to be worked over there. Let me goddamn go over here. Y'all got slaves to sell? We buying. They didn't kidnap us, man. We gotta stop telling that lie. You wasn't kidnapped, sir. You were sold. That's why I don't believe in that crap about Roots. How they looked up all benevolent in that village, and then the white man came with it. No, I'm gonna tell you what happened with Roots. They was up there in that village, and another black man came and said, "Hey man, come on, let's get on this shit right here." And they had a party over there. They got a party going on. I'm telling you, man, they got mirrors, they got alcohol. Hey man, them big group, they got big group white women over there. I'm telling you, man, lift up them skirts up there, man. And they got on that boat, and they didn't come back. A white man did that. You were sold, sir. And I love black people. And I admit, I tell my kids, hey man, we ain't African. They sold us over here. Stop with that lie, man.
The minute Libya went to shit, they started selling people in Libya. They're selling people to, you can go buy an African today in Libya.
Hafiz. Hey, Hafiz. I told you, I asked that question 8 times. You see how the blacks are quiet? I said, why y'all ain't mad at the Africans? They sold you. See, they'll be mad at the whites and the British and the Spanish and stuff, but y'all ain't mad at the Africans. Hey, if I'm gonna be mad, if I'm gonna be mad at whites for slavery, if I'm gonna be mad at these other people for slavery, I'm gonna be mad at the Africans. But I'm not gonna be mad at them because we share the same color. No, slavery would not have happened if y'all didn't sell it. Here your point.
Well, number one, you gotta drink some water, man. You gotta drink that water, bro. But yo, I'm gonna answer a question real quick. And this goes for what you were saying about the white people before. Not all white people are elites. Not all black people were slaves. That's all it boils down to. So you can't blame all white people. I think that black dudes all the time at the barber shop to the white man inside. You cannot blame all white people. I know white people that are broke as hell, and I know some white people that are very wealthy. And I know black people that got lost a hell of money. I know black people that are starving to find a better life.
Your mic is missing. And I've said this a long time ago, brother. It's like, what's going on with it?
But what I read, am I right? What I correct? I'm not sure my source if it's correct. I read that during slavery, 90% of black people were slaves that were here in this country. Only 10% were free up in the north.
It could be true. It could be true.
You know what? Please cannot take off your phone for doing anything.
I think we're getting too off the subject here. What can you give me something that's great about white culture, like architecture, technology? You know, we're honoring White History Month in July because it's white. So I want to know, what do you think? What are some great things about white culture?
Man,
I think there are a lot of great things about white culture. Just like, number one, I would say that there's no white culture, there's no black culture. But we know white culture to mean European culture. We know black culture to mean African culture. Despite what people in the U.S. want to say that it's only black Americans, this is how the world defines black Americans.
Yes, say real quick. For example, like in terms of music, you gotta admit classical music is incredible. So that's what I mean by white culture. Let's be honest, that's white culture. White invented it.
I can't say it is or isn't, because
I like it.
Music is timeless. I know quite a bit about music. There's music theory, right? And certain melodies and notes, these are timeless. So to say that a certain culture invented a certain musical genre, I don't know enough about that classical, to really say that. But
okay, what
you
about
could say architecture? You could say that European architecture is very magnificent, right? I'm not taking anything away from any white people, but Joe Will makes an excellent point when he says normally the whites that complain that blacks don't do anything are normally the lowest achieving whites. And the same thing goes for blacks. The blacks want to tie themselves onto the Kangs, like, oh, we was all Kangs, we was all ruling. And it's most likely that y'all was peasants. So I think white history and black history is the same thing. Not all white people can tie themselves to white history. Not all black people can tie themselves to so-called black history. It's just that simple.
I totally agree with that, man. I totally agree with it.
Everybody thinks that if they went back in time, they'll be kings, they'll be in the royal courts. They don't realize that even in Europe, those most people were indentured servants. They were shoveling literal shit because they had no sewer system. Oh, they had cesspits. You know what a cesspit is? Cesspit is just a giant hole where all the shit went in, and then once a month, somebody had to take a shovel and start shoveling that out.
Hey, CT, I want to answer your question about white history. You want me to tell you one of the greatest things that white people have ever created and have ever done, CT? What's that? Unity. Uniting. Yeah. Something that Africa ain't done yet. Yeah. That's one thing that I can say that they do well and they created well. They know how to unite.
They're not united here, but they're not united in Europe. They fighting all the time.
I guarantee you they united in Europe. They so united.
The European Union is a testament. The European Union is a testament of that unification. And then you have NATO. I mean, NATO.
Let's ask Ireland how they feel about that. Let's ask Ukraine how they feel about that. Let's ask
Europe is united. You know that.
Yeah, but they still have the infighting. They still have the infighting.
There's still corruption.
Africa got the African Union. Yeah, but the African Union is not in the same scale.
And didn't you guys say
Yeah, we had Brexit.
Brexit. Right, they fight. I don't know what be going on over there. You act like they just get along.
Because Kwame, give me a second. Because Kwame, even with the European Union, they don't even have one unified currency. If I'm not mistaken.
No, they do. They do for most of that. The euro, which covers most of the European Union countries.
No, I'm sorry. The African Union doesn't have.
Oh, the African Union.
Sorry, yeah, African Union doesn't have a unified currency. Yeah, but the African Union doesn't have a unified currency. So I mean, you have the British pound, you have the African Union. The African Union doesn't have a unified currency. That's true, but neither does Europe. Yes, they do. They have the European. What are you talking about? They have the euro. The euro. I mean, that's a block of.
And it's stronger than the USD.
Don't discount the dollar either. They use the dollar.
And they can use the damn dollar. Yeah, right. Go ahead,
The euro is stronger than the USD.
Go ahead,
Yeah, there's some truth in what Chile is saying, but there's a lot of distorted facts.
Go ahead.
So, for starters, in terms of Africa, let's be honest. There is a psychological damage that has been instituted on Africans as a result of slavery and colonialism and imperialism. And therefore, Black people are not at their normal state. And you cannot be judging and expecting Black people to unite under the circumstances. It would be extremely unfair for them to do that. And for Africa to be disjointed as it is because the European countries are still active in order to make sure that Africa doesn't unite. And therefore, the disunity of Africa leads to them benefiting from extracting all the minerals, the economic wealth, and to make sure that they enrich, and as such, they have very high living standards and their countries are developed. I can tell you this for a reason. Africa has been regarded as the underdeveloped countries for many years, and we are kept in that state. So when the European countries are expecting Africa to behave at a normal scale. That's not going to happen at the current moment. You know, I can tell you now, that in South Africa, where I'm based, we've got 11 languages. We are all united. We've got close to about 149 parties that are contesting elections in each and every election year. Whereas the white people in South Africa, they've got close to about 3 to 4 parties. But the black parties in general, there are 149 because of splinter groups that are coming out of the main governing party, which is the ANC government. And when you were to analyze the reason why there are such many splinter groups, it is because the ANC, which is the governing party, it is not fulfilling its mandate in serving the black population in South Africa. So, and that condition, those circumstances can be extrapolated throughout the whole African continent, where in Zimbabwe, this will be applicable in Botswana, this will be applicable in Mozambique, it will be applicable in Nigeria, it will be applicable all over Africa. And there is no way black people are going to unite under these circumstances. So Chile is expecting the unexpected. And I just wanted to mention to say that, you know, this issue of Pan-Africanism is just in theory, yes, I agree, but there is a motive and undercut what contributing factors that are making sure that Africans don't unite. So it is not as easy as it seems. I mean, even in America, that will be the same. It's not as easy as it seems. Because, I mean, the mental state of Africans in general, both in the Caribbean, in the Americas, the South Americans I'm referring to, the North Americans, and even in Africa as a continent, there is no way that people are going to unite under the current mental state and condition that resulted from colonialism and imperialism.
Can I stop you? Can I stop you?
Yes, you can come in. Okay.
Let me just give you a little bit. The fact is that as much as you want to blame colonialism, although yes, there's absolutely foreign interests within the African continent which will assassinate and stop whatever leader that wants to maybe do something good for their country or for the continent. Those elements exist. I'm not denying those. But when Libya fell, regardless of what you might think about how Gaddafi was ousted, it wasn't the Americans or the British that told the Libyans, you can now sell people. It was the Libyans who started to sell other human beings. They don't have the moral character to say, maybe we shouldn't sell other human beings as commodities. Who taught them that is okay? It wasn't the Americans that came along and said, oh guys, here's an idea, let's start selling people again. No, it was the Libyans that did that. So it's something within Libya which allows them to morally justify and accept selling other human beings as commodities. It's not from an external source. So when the Houthis and Tutsis start to machete each other to death, when the Congolese from the Central Republic and the Democratic Republic start to kill each other, and in order to save money on bullets, they'll use machetes to kill women and children. That wasn't an American that made that decision. They made that decision. Completely try to obfuscate blame from the character of those people in that region to some foreign influence. The actions of those people still is upon them. I choose whether I sell a human being to them. I choose whether I put a machete and take out an entire village of people and just, take out a bunch of women and children with a machete. It's not an American.
Do you believe that? Do you believe? Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Do you believe that all the Libyans support the slave trade?
It doesn't matter whether all the okay. It doesn't matter whether it's all. It's this nonsense of not all crap. I'm talking about it doesn't matter.
You made a point. You made a point that it wasn't the Americans who were Libyans, but I would argue it's some Libyans. And my second part to that question is, if such governmental instability happened in the United States, like there was a foreign country that took over the United States and left the country with civil unrest and non-governance, do you truly believe that slavery would not erupt overnight in the United States?
Yes, I do, because it happened in Iraq, and the Iraqis are not selling people. Even though the ISIS started to take slaves and started opening up slave markets, but Iraqis did not start selling people when Saddam Hussein fell. And lots of other countries have had regime changes, and when Egypt, Hosni Mubarak fell, Egyptians didn't start selling people. They didn't bring back slave markets. So there's something within the Libyans that allows them to do this, and they morally have justified it to be right.
There's a scale of regime change. There's regime change that is actually democratic in process, and then there's regime change where these leaders are just assassinated and all the countries dip and leave people to their own devices.
Yeah, and as I said, other people have had those situations, and they still didn't start selling people. The Afghans have been at war since the mid '80s with the Russians, and then the Americans and the Taliban, and these countries have been totally devastated. Still didn't start selling people. The Afghans, the Taliban didn't open up slave markets. So there's something within the character of the Taliban that doesn't that tells them that it is not okay to sell people, to sell human beings as commodities. There's something in the character of the Iraqi that says to them that it's not okay to sell human beings. But there isn't something in the character of the Libyan that tells them it's not okay. Clearly, they have a different perspective on the world. I'm not saying it's all of Africa, but what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that whatever horrible thing that your people of your country are doing to other people, you can't just brush it off as, oh, it's the other guy's fault. It's the invaders' fault. It's the Americans, it's the British, it's colonialism, it's the French. No, something is within your own culture as well that is messed up. That you're trying to obfuscate, that you're trying to pretend that it's other person. So maybe you're broken too, and you have to fix from within. But it seems that you guys have no concept of that.
Let me ask you a first. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. I'm gonna ask this sitting. This is a question that I'm extremely pondering upon. Do you think the impact of 400 years of colonialism will institute, in terms of the behavior of Africans, normal behavior? Do you believe that the impact of 400 years of colonialism will lead Black people to be in a state of normality?
I don't see why not. The Indians survived it. The Indians have had colonialism, were colonized by the British for, I don't know, years. The fact is that the North Africans,
the behavior, the cultural outlook.
You think colonialism in Africa?
The overview of life in general. What
let me tell you. You think that the British were the only colonizers of Africa? There were colonizers of Africa long before the British. There were the Arabs, there were the Byzantines, the Romans colonized North Africa, the Arabs colonized North Africa. You've been colonized, African continent has been colonized hundreds of years, possibly thousands of years before a British person could ever set foot on the African continent. So if you think you only have 400 years of colonization, you are sorely mistaken. You don't know the history of that continent. That continent has been colonized over and over again by a multitude of different people, mostly actually from the East, not actually from the West. But you think that it was only the British that have somehow broken the African man's mind, that now he thinks macheting women and children is okay. That the British and the French somehow broke the Africans' mind in such a way that they think selling people again is okay. I don't think it's just the British. There's something else at work here, and I think you guys simply are in denial that maybe your culture is so messed up, maybe that you're deep-rooted so shit that you can't, you don't want to change from within. Maybe the British, maybe the French, maybe the Europeans, it took them maybe 2 world wars and millions of people to die of their people to learn that maybe they were broken, maybe they had to fix themselves. And the Africans and the Middle Easterners have not learned those lessons.
Yeah, long shot beat is right. Even on the day we are supposed to talk about white people, we are still talking about black. So to make that transition back, Noel, did you know that July is White History Month, and how will you celebrate it as a white? Go ahead.
Well, I celebrate it as a not like a skin color. That doesn't make that doesn't
Make any sense?
sense. Like I said,
Aren't you proud to be white?
yes, of course.
So I was asking you.
So
So you're not going to celebrate it, but what are you?
I am.
What are you most proud of as a white person?
I'm most proud of. I am in this great country.
Yeah, well, yeah, we're proud about white, yes.
And I'm great. Like we are equal to each other.
Yeah, whites brought equality to most people.
Yes.
This is a different civilization. We have caste systems, all types of stuff. You are correct. Hey, how is it Noel can answer all this? Thank you, Noel.
Well,
you are correct.
So white people don't have caste systems?
No, they don't have any caste systems. No. What's the name of the caste system in America? I'll wait.
In other parts of Europe, they don't have poor versus rich, or they don't have. I know.
In America, there have been so many people, so many common whites that have worked their way up, pulled themselves up, and been millions.
Right. All white people get along with each other.
Well, people don't get along with people, period. But the fact of the matter is that Noel is right. There are no caste systems here. You're not forever in a caste here. Noel is correct.
Yeah, there is a class system in Europe and especially in Britain, but America kind of broke the back of that because it shows that you don't have to come from aristocratic roots or royal roots in order to climb up the social ladder. There's social mobility in the European and American market.
And what else, Noel, do you love about being white?
like everything.
Noel, did you go to Jazz Fest?
What is that?
Oh, okay, never mind. Yeah,
No.
Never mind. I was downtown Cleveland. Never mind.
No.
Okay. And so what else do you like about being white, Noel? Go ahead.
Our culture, and glad to yeah.
That's it?
I don't know what to say about it. I'm sorry.
Can you
space travel? That's white culture. That's white made that. Well, space travel. Never thought about it.
can you metabolize milk and
yeah,
and gluten?
Cow milk.
Yeah.
That's cow. Other people can metabolize.
Where's the whites that for their? I want more whites to talk about this. Bob, thanks. Go ahead, Bob. What the hell's your problem, man? What are you talking about?
Hello, Bob. Happy White History Month, Bob.
What the hell? What are you doing out there, man? What's asking something like that? Is she white?
Yeah.
Does she even think like that?
Did she give
Came
the
up
best
with the
answers
best
on
answers.
I'm like, really?
Well, she did come up with something.
Damn.
Tell people.
She did come up with the best answers.
She is
Country not great, was it not founded by whites? Bob?
Can we be serious and not? One of the things white culture did is not have people who are strong pick on the weak. And that's
Again, did she match the best answers on the panel? Like, Bob, why are you picking on her?
on the week. Are you serious?
What is, and why are you picking on her, man? She gave the best answer, and you come up here all furious.
Imagine the wolf. Imagine the wolf talking about picking on the sheep. Come on, Bob. And you know who the wolf is in the story. It's you.
he doesn't know anything from anything. You think he
Bob
thinks
is the biggest wolf.
She probably
about race?
Dude, you know what's going on here, CT? Actually, you know what's going on here? Bob is coming here for clout to get subscribers and viewers on his channel now that he's a big YouTube hotshot. I mean, I saw the other day he was talking about how it's some extension of the CT universe. Like, Bob is just here to grow his wallet.
It's just he's looking for cloud chaser, another cloud
chaser, another grifter on YouTube. Like, we need another man.
Would you like to talk to me or have Laughing Boy with you? Your attack dog.
I was going to ask you about, it is White History Month starts tomorrow. And
Noel doesn't think about white history.
I'm not talking about Noel now. I'm talking about me. It's white history. What in white history is one of the most fascinating things that you see? Like even when you see it right now, you think, wow.
How am I supposed to have this conversation with her?
I'm white, Bob.
I like white people's architecture.
She's white. She's white.
Look, if you look in the dictionary under white, you see a picture of Noel. Like,
She's the whitest person on the panel, technically.
Go ahead, Bob.
I don't think anybody even white as her.
The greatest recent invention I could say white people have is the English language. Without communication, we're not able to do much of anything. The English language has very unique concepts about it that other languages, English language for the win. Now,
you do know, Bob, the English language actually it comes from the Indo-Iranian languages.
that's fine. Great. Just get the web.
Frankie, look at this. Look at this censor, dude. You start your own channel. You're at the.
Bob, are you upset because Noel
chase
like everybody else today?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stayed on topic. She answered the questions directly. She did a better job than all of us. I mean, well, not me, but all of you.
Bill, you see the exploitation. Please tell me you see this.
I can see where it could go left pretty good.
There you go, man. Thank you.
But she's a sweetheart.
You bring her on here?
And nobody here will hurt her.
Bob, you know what I look at every time? Bob, you know what I look at some days, and I still am mesmerized by this white achievement, the airplane. When I see an airplane in the sky, I say, God damn, it's a tube with hundreds of people in it, 30,000 people. To this day, that still boggles my mind to this day.
CT. Wow. It just takes them overpriced drivers to drive around.
Come on now. You think Africans won't be able to develop that if we were not under some arrested development?
Okay.
Come on now.
You have
You know the concept of arrested development.
Bob, who cares?
Come on now.
Come on, Bob.
An African and Noel are not people qualified to talk about any race. Okay? And this has to come.
Come on now. That's what is called arrested development. Our development has been arrested. It has been put on hold.
Mizuzi. And the whole continent has the mentality of wealth. Easy. It's not Noel's fault, either.
And Zuzi, Are you saying, because you brought this up, I didn't, are you saying if the Wright brothers never invented the airplane, the African independently would have invented it? Okay.
Exactly. Exactly my point. Every nation in life has a stage where their development is high. Every nation is given a chance to develop itself. Every nation, by some mercy, some godly undertaking, is given a period of time where they can develop themselves, where they can advance themselves. And it comes through the fall of empires, the rise and fall of empires. But by some reason, the European nation came into Africa and conquered it, and they made sure after conquering it, instituted laws that make sure that Africans do not develop. If they were to conquer us and leave us alone, we could have advanced. They knew that if we were left alone, we could have closed the gap and advanced to their level. They know that.
How the hell are you supposed to discuss aerodynamics with a voice like that? Come on. My point is that when the people who conquered you found you, buddy, but again, you can picture shit all you want. Historically, you want to explain to them that when your people found them, they literally were 150 years ahead of them. I'm saying they were 150 years of technology ahead of them. And this guy is saying, had they left them alone, they would have caught up by then. That dude, everyone who found you and conquered you, you were 100 years behind development. You're insane, buddy. You get up here every day. That Africa is a victim. Yeah, you're a terrible victim. Yeah. Keep living in your fantasy, buddy. Historically, it has been proven that everyone who conquered you was 100 years plus in development ahead of you. You would have never closed that gap. You would have never closed that gap. It is not possible. They only closed it for you, but giving you the technology you were missing. That's how it works, buddy. That's why you were conquered, not because you were roaming around. You got conquered because you were nowhere near as developed as the people who found you on the African continent. They had guns, you had spears. Like you want to live in a world where it's not true that somehow everything was like Wakanda on the African continent. It was, dude, you were never going there. It was never going to happen. It's a fact. Why is someone else?
When the Europeans used shields and spears.
The thing is, Gimpy, they were conquered before even gunpowder. They were conquered because even the Egyptians during their
were
time
conquered by people who had blacksmithing when they had rocks that they were sharpening.
Exactly. They were still defending with leather shields.
You have been 100 years behind those who have conquered you. Read the history book. You take that African aid money that's so cut off and read a goddamn history book.
Your people were literally still defending against steel with leather-bound shields. Look, let's not kid ourselves.
They were winning. Shaka was kicking their behind. The only reason to me that they lost is because they killed Shaka. They betrayed Shaka. And when I looked it up last time, we had this argument. The guns and stuff came after Shaka's death. He had a chance. Boy,
I'm not even talking about Shaka. That is recent history. I'm talking about.
Hey, Wendy.
I'm talking about the Persians and the Romans.
Hello, Jay. Hello, Wendy. Hi, everybody. Wendy, how are you? It's been a while.
You realize during the time, even at the height of Egypt's empire,
Wendy.
they were still using bronze and
Wendy.
sort of weaponry. They weren't even using steel. They hadn't developed steel weaponry. When the Romans came with steel and the Persians came with steel weapons,
yes, they did, Jay.
Because the weapons that were using the Egyptians, the Egyptians actually had a very famous sword, which I forgot the name now, but it's They were so much weaker than the steel weapons that the
Jay,
other
are you gonna do a live panel?
And this is Egypt. The only most notable thing that Africa.
I'm doing good with Wendy. How are you?
Literally wooden spears, bows and arrows, and leather shields. You guys hadn't developed metallurgy. You hadn't developed steel armor. You hadn't developed chainmail.
I've got a question for you, Hafez. I've got a question for you, Hafez. Just to demonstrate my point, I have a question for you, Hafez. Isn't the Americans and the Israelis, I think, stopping the development of a nuclear bomb in Iran? Is that not an indication, an example of arrested development for Iran not to develop its own nuclear and atomic bomb capability?
Yes, yeah. This
I don't
particular.
know Iran's development.
It's not an arrested development. This is not arrested. You're comparing.
Okay, bye.
Nuclear bomb development.
No, you are comparing literally apples and baseball in this.
You're not
metallurgy and having blacksmithing. Blacksmithing was not being held back by the British. You not developing steel was not being held back by the Romans or the Greeks.
What's for dinner, Jay?
In conjunction with all those other empires. Nobody held back the Africans from discovering how to create steel. You're insane if you think that was the case. You just didn't do it. You didn't have the capabilities or possibly the IQ to do it.
Okay. Answer my question. I'm just curious. I got a question. So what's the way Northeast arresting the development of
steak and
they had their own empire and it didn't fall until what, Stalin or something around that time? I mean, Ethiopia is so old and has a continuous history.
Wendy, are you still here?
And aren't they black?
Yes, yeah, Ethiopians were very, very advanced. I'm talking about really sub-Saharan. I mean, Ethiopia is kind of up there. But yeah, I mean,
look, we're drinking Dr. Pepper.
Places like Egypt, even Somalia. Somalia is a really also, these people
I'm going to a fair wine on Sunday in UK. How, Wendy? Really, Wendy? Wendy, I hope you have so much fun. Hope you live stream it. I'm going to a fair rides on Sunday in the UK. That is cool.
From the Middle East.
Very cool. Wendy, I miss you.
Influence them in order for them to build up their civilization ahead of the other surrounding African kingdoms. That is the point.
Wendy.
Yes, it is. So, go look it up.
Okay, Mr. Okay. I'll tell you what. There were no dark-skinned Africans doing any sort of development or any sort of. This is complete nonsense. The reason why certain Africans were doing better than others is their geolocation in relation to the Nile River. At that time, what was booming was agriculture. So your proximity to water, to fresh water, was what really determined your wealth versus your poverty. So it wasn't this influence of Arab nations or this influence of European nations that gave these people the wealth or the know-how to develop higher than sub-Saharan Africa.
Dude, read a history book about Ethiopia then, because they themselves don't talk about the influence. That's how Christianity is one of the founding nations of Christianity is Ethiopia because of the outside influence on that.
Really?
Read a fucking history book. I'll send you
Orthodox Christians before because the language is
Okay, sorry, Wendy. Wait, do I know you from somewhere, Wendy? Wait, I cannot remember.
The thing is, actually, I mean, this is
Can't
again
remember
another
where I
this
know
one
you
is so
from.
much fun. Like
Can you
historical
refresh my
revisions.
mind, please?
Like people, like a lot of people talk about.
And we're
the
drinking
Muslims,
Dr.
modern Muslims, go to Africa
Pepper.
and say to them, "Oh, the white man came and forced you into Christianity." And
Sorry.
Christianity, in fact, it's the other way around. The Muslims came and took them out of Christianity. Egypt was a Christian
From Matthews.
nation.
Oh yeah.
Libya was a Christian nation. Ethiopia was a Christian nation. Syria,
How is
Iraq,
him?
Algeria.
Matthew,
Jordan,
is he
Christian
staying out
dominated
of
countries.
trouble with Miss
The
Anne and
Turkey was
everybody?
called Constantinople, where the Bible was canonized. These were 100% Christian nations, and the Muslims pretend that it was the Europeans, the British and the French that came and introduced Christianity into Africa. No, the Muslims took Christianity out of Africa.
Those are the history books that Jimpy is so adamant.
Do you want to
about.
join?
Those
the
don't
link?
even
Talk
talk about the ancient Africans that were Christian, as you mentioned, because these languages, if you study language, these languages are African languages. Amharic, this is an African language that branched off into Arabic and Hebrew. So Aramaic was the original language. That's the language that the original Bible was.
Yeah. Dad? Dad? Why is
I don't think
Aramaic.
Everything in it's written in original
Arabic.
That's okay. Keep telling yourself, man. Arabic comes after Hebrew comes before Aramaic, buddy.
No, it doesn't. Modern Hebrew, okay, the characters are off of Aramaic.
Biblical Hebrew comes before both those languages. Again, another person who hasn't read a book and talks like they do, dude. Aramaic has actual Hebrew words in it that demonstrate that Hebrew in the biblical sense comes before.
So
This should go back to school, get your education, and not sit on YouTube all day watching your math.
There's Paleo Hebrew and there's modern day Hebrew.
You just want to be right instead of effective. This is the problem with everyone up here. And that's why you have
The history, that's the history.
May I ask something on I believe what you're saying is true. That has predated Aramaic, but the reason why I believe it's in the Bible because it's the language that Jesus spoke. That's why I'm asking.
In the New Testament, sure, it comes by that going in history. Aramaic exists.
I was saying that not my argument.
Going to the
most likely spoken both, well, actually Greek and Aramaic and Hebrew, because he spoke to the Roman Greeks, soldiers, and he spoke
Maybe Wednesday.
Aramaic and Hebrew.
Yeah, that's not good. Most people.
That's my favorite soda.
Multiple names.
Mine too.
I'm gonna go with the Rutledge.
We are Leonettes. This is so fine.
Is my favorite.
Let me make sure.
Blackberry.
Let me make sure. Give me a heart on your back.
No one is.
I was coming from ignorance. I want you to know I asked. I did not come from knowledge or knowing. And this is just me guessing because I'm Christian.
I also do.
I knew that
Great.
Jesus spoke Aramaic. That's why I was saying that the Bible was in Aramaic.
No, I wasn't actually. I was. Yeah. What's up, bud? Get off the internet and go get a rug on yours.
All right, go ahead, Blackberry. Go ahead, Blackberry.
Pretty good. Go ahead.
One thing I want to say is that I'm thankful for white people in the Constitution and the amendment. I'm thankful for that. Thankful for that, white folks. CT.
Oh, come on, get there. Come on. Oh, come on. What is that?
Hey, CT.
Oh, come on, get there. Yes, sir. Come on.
Wendy?
Give me a break.
Wendy, how is Matthew doing with is he in trouble or he's okay, Matthew?
White people don't do that.
They don't? I didn't know that. Go ahead.
No, they don't. Do you think Joe Rogan would
Yeah, Joe Rogan was our first free speech before he wrote.
Who wrote the First Amendment? I just want to know.
And Zuzi, you really pissed off about what he's saying. What is it that he's saying that has you said?
Oh my God, that white people gave us the Constitution. It's all about white people giving us the Constitution. That's a document. Everybody can write that. We have systems in Africa that govern us for many, many years. Our grandparents survived for more than thousands.
So is he going to jail? Matthew?
Our own traditional
Maybe?
governing systems in Africa. Come on, give me a brain.
Yes, where you macheted each other to death.
Generations were born out of the systems of our ancestors. That were
We
Africa.
know how you governed yourselves.
This is what I'm saying about that. You cannot make a dent in this. There's no cure for this level of stupid. Dude.
Like,
There is no
look, Mazuzi, we know you governed yourselves where you macheted each other to death, you skinned each other alive, you sold each other. Yeah, that's why you asked needed the Constitution.
Did Matthew go to jail, or is Miss Ann and him getting in a fight with each other?
We have a constitution that is not serving black people. We have a constitution that is on paper.
This
But black people are still enslaved. They're still poor. We are the most unequal society in the entire world. But you've got a constitution. Give me a break.
Black Bear, he is correct. The people there and in places of Africa have been there for thousands of years. But they didn't need a constitution. So what say you to that? So?
See, I don't know about I'm not African. In Africa, are you allowed to have a Second Amendment there? Are you able to have
no, Matthew's not going to jail. Miss Ann is doing okay. Is Miss Ann's cancer is doing okay? Wendy?
Leather-bound shield. They have a Second Amendment. You can have a spear, you can have a bow and arrow, and a leather-bound shield.
On the same level as the white Americans. You can buy more than 30 guns in South Africa. You can buy rifles. You can own rifles.
Calm down. Are you able to have a militia to fight the government of Africa? Are you able to do that in Africa?
No, we are not going to promote separatism. We are not going to promote militia.
Okay, so you don't have an amendment here.
We do have the amendment. We do have the Bill of Rights that guarantees South African citizens to own guns.
Okay.
Where did you
There are so many guns in South Africa there are so many guns in South Africa. So many guns in South Africa that are owned by the South African citizens.
I wanted to answer your question earlier, because I didn't have the video from you. Because I'm just got sick of talking to the victim of Babylon.
One Orthodox emperor carried the true cross into battle and crushed the pagan empire. His name was Heraclius, and he was no ordinary ruler. When he took the throne in 610 AD, the Byzantine Empire was falling apart. The Persians had invaded. They stole cities. They stole relics. They even stole the true cross from Jerusalem. For me, it was the end, but not for Heraclius. He fasted. He prayed. He led his people back to faith. And then he did the impossible. With a small army, Heraclius marched across mountains, deserts, and enemy territory. He fought 7 brutal years against the fire-worshipping Persians. And in 627, at the Battle of Nineveh, he destroyed their power forever. The cross of Christ was returned. Orthodoxy was saved. But Heraclius didn't ride into Jerusalem like a king. He
I really
carrying the cross in humility,
want
just
her
like
to be
Christ.
okay. And
So yeah, that's something I'm very proud of, the descendant of the mighty Byzantine. That was offense, and your people's offense. That's the first. No, I like you, but that's the worst. I like you, but
Well, we don't worship fire, by the way. The Zoroastrians, such a misconception. Zoroastrians don't worship fire. It's ridiculous.
Yes, I am.
But yeah, so that's what happened when Christians actually had some freaking backbone and balls about them. They used to do shit. You know, I went to the Notre Dame Cathedral a few weeks ago, and you really appreciate what Christianity used to be. You know, you look at this magnificent building, this incredible place, and you think this is what Christians used to have testicles back then. You know, they used to have balls of steel, and you
Is
can
it warm? No, it's cold now.
why the French, the British, they realized we can go and just go to someone else's country and say, yeah, this is ours now. We got this. This is our place. And the people in the other country are like, what? You're just gonna take over? They're like, yeah, we're just gonna. This is ours. We own this shit now. And they did because they had testicles. They had a backbone. Now I look at the white man and I pity I pity the fool. I pity the white man. The white man.
We have the ability to be that further. We've just evolved past it. We're trying.
No, you didn't evolve past it. They beat it out of you, dude. I'm telling you, Bill. I feel bad. You guys. I mean, you in America, you still have some degree of testicles, but the Europeans, they've lost their testes, dude. They've lost that. They cut their testes off. They're like a neutered dog. It's shameful to look at these great countries, great places, Britain, France.
Once again,
We can do
once
whatever
again,
we want.
who are these people?
One thing I want to say another thing that I just seen this past weekend, it was a white man.
Yeah, we have fun.
You know, two black nations couldn't come together without a white man to make, you know, we gotta
That's
say,
staged. That was staged. That was staged. Trump is an actor. That was staged.
Yeah, I think if you believe that, you're pretty.
Yo, can I just point one thing out? Like everybody's talking, but we all agree Solomon had mines in the middle of Africa with nations that he made allyship with. They couldn't pull those diamonds out without the technology that was brought by the Kingdom of Israel to build those mines. They weren't there. The Jews found it. Like again, you guys keep talking, but all the influence of development in Africa can be dated back to outside influences coming and giving them technology, not them developing it naturally, like the people you keep complaining about conquering them, which was the whole original point.
There was
And
no
the fact is
Europeans came into South Africa. There was the Mapungubwe Empire. They were refining gold, they were refining silver, they were refining iron ore long before the Europeans landed here in 1652.
That's
what I'm saying. Go home.
before and then we're taught us. See, this is what I mean. You have a conversation with someone who doesn't even understand terms. So
Gimpy, what brand sunscreen were the Jews using?
Hold on for a second. Let's get Wall Street in. Go ahead, Wall Street.
so I just had like kind of a twofold question. One, what have white people been able to accomplish outside of conquest? Like, have you guys built anything without conquest, conquering, murdering, and genocide being involved?
The Chinese do. The Chinese did.
Hold on. Let's hear from Wall Street.
The Chinese.
Hold on. Go ahead, Wall Street.
Yeah, that was basically the question in itself. Like, what have you guys been able
Jay.
to create without conquest? Because I would.
Jay, do you wanna be on my show right now?
Africa was conquered the way it was there wasn't a need for warfare technology. Right?
Yes.
So
Yes, I do.
on land that was abundant with resources, they didn't need to look outside of themselves. Most of the time when you hear about whites in Africa, it's through conquest because they're looking for things in the past.
Wendy, here is the link.
Have white people built anything outside of conquest?
Nothing. No, hold on. It's actually very easy to answer that. The very conquest and the very wars they fought is what produced the technologies in which you depend on every day of your life now. The very planes you get on, where those engines were developed, the jet engines were developed during the Second World War. The rocket technology, hold on. The rocket technology that took a man to the moon was developed by the Germans to actually bomb London. Look, the fact of the matter is...
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're not going to hear you, but...
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, the war and prosperity are joined at the hip. They are symbiotic. One feeds the other. It doesn't matter if everyone in the world, everyone,
the Great Wall of China. You guys know knowledge of history. It's amazing. You guys are like, when you guys talk like that, it's gotta be the most ignorant.
Many empires. I don't even have to talk about planes and jet engines and tanks. I can just talk about places like Mongolia. Genghis Khan managed to do what he did not only because he had good sort of ability to enact war in a tactical way, but his army was one of the best bowmen in the world. The Mongolian horse riding bowman was one of the best in the world. They could ride a horse and shoot arrows at phenomenal speed and accuracy.
Dude,
and the Mongolian
recurve bow.
That's technology. That's what I'm trying to say. It's what they developed. They developed the recurve bow, which allows the bowman to ride a horse at a fast pace and launch arrows at the same time.
No, white people haven't created anything outside of conquest.
Exactly. But everything they created is because of their conquest.
They're not the Western world.
Look, what I'm trying to tell you is that conquest and war and peace and prosperity kind of go hand in hand, because war, they say necessity is the mother of invention, and war creates a lot of necessities, and those out of those necessities you develop technology which you depend on today, that you survive on every day of your life. Everything around you.
Hi, Big Bug. How are you?
Through some sort of military.
Welcome
in.
in.
You think the internet was developed for civilian purposes? The internet was developed for war. Was developed for the military.
You would agree. If you're talking about carbon emissions and things like that, when you're talking about planes, cars, right? A lot of the things that.
And where are you from, Big Dog?
As inventions that they created, you would agree that those are the primary factors in destroying the planet. In terms of on an environment.
Thank you for subscribing to my channel.
Some of the environmental fallout is part of the fact that we went through the Industrial Revolution, but that Industrial Revolution led to us coming to a point where we can actually now develop potentially green energy or better.
Texas Houston. So how old are you, Big Dog?
You have to come through one phase in order to learn better. If we didn't have the Industrial Revolution, we'd still be in cave. Yeah, sure, the environment would be great if we were all in caves wearing loincloths and trying to hunt down a gazelle for dinner. But I'm sorry, I enjoy Uber Eats. I don't give a shit.
Black Learning Caves, they had communities, they had systems of learning, they had libraries. We had a lot of great things without content. That was my reason.
Yes, and you all killed each other regularly all over the continent. You all were fighting over this abundant land that had plenty of resource. You were slaughtering, selling each other into slavery for thousands of years. So I'm like, dude, you are just asking loaded questions.
Because if you're saying for thousands of years, you're talking about the Arabs. Like,
yes, right? All the way back, dude.
That wasn't a fundamental.
All the way back.
What I'm saying is that wasn't.
No, you were fundamentally killing each other and using the defeated
now remember
sold into slavery. Do you not like, dude? You are just asking loaded questions to try and make it seem like black people live in Wakanda and white people live in hell. Like, this is what I mean. Go read a book, become educated in a proper way, and come back with good faith. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. No, you were like everyone else was fighting over the land.
Please.
Like something is special and everyone is different. The whole world is the same. We slay, we conquer, we pillage, and we rape across the whole continent. Every race, species, creed, religion, it doesn't matter. It is a human norm. You can play games up here to make each other look stupid, and all you do is sound stupid to an educated person who knows better about how the world works. Right? Dude, there are no groups who advanced significantly with technology that did not kill, slaughter, and pillage, whether it be their own, their surrounding neighbors. You live in a delusion because you want to feel like there's something real about a fantasy. There isn't. Get an education, argue in good faith, and then we can have a conversation.
Wall Street. It's really showing one race, one creed, one group of people on the planet that didn't have slavery. I'll wait.
Before white men came?
Throughout the history of mankind.
We didn't have slaves in Africa.
What I'm saying
is so deluded.
Dude, you have the prisoners to sell already. Like, okay.
We're fundamentally introduced all over the world by white men.
No, you are insane if you think you have literally no concept of reality on human history. Egyptians, Chinese had slaves, Mongolians took slaves, the Japanese.
25.
Everybody did this shit.
It is a human condition. This is what I'm saying. You think some group is different than any other group. They're all the goddamn same. They all have the same sin. They all have the same praise.
With the $2 cash up for my apologies if I offended anyone. And Skywalker with the $2 PayPal. He says, "What the fuck? I thought this was white history." Real quick, Wall Street.
Real quick,
Republic Room wants me to play pastor.
So read.
I'm getting tired of the testimony video. City. I'm getting so tired of this video.
Whatever get anywhere until we look at the mind of a black man. He doesn't think correct. I don't care what he is. He can be a doctor. He can be an astrophysicist. The nigga ain't got no sense. You talk to him. You talk to him.
Wearing the white man's shirt.
He doesn't understand the
White
world.
man country.
He's never built anything. The most the black people have ever done, they did in America under white people's help. When they went to Africa, they didn't do nothing.
Mizzuzi, what are you getting tired of? Because, in my opinion, today was just supposed to be solely to talk about the achievements of whites. I don't know why black anything is getting brought into this conversation. But what exactly are you getting tired of?
I'm tired. I'm getting tired of a statement that is being ushered by Pastor Manning based on a misconstrued conceptualization. You cannot say that Africans have been built anything as a result of their development and their success and their advancement being arrested by the European world. Our advancement, our success.
Hold on for 1 second, Mizzuzi. GB with the $10 PayPal said CT whites invented deodorant because they stank real bad. Miguel, thank you.
I don't know about deodorant, but they definitely developed perfume.
I'm saying, CT, I'm getting tired of this Pastor Manning statements and his preachings that are based on the misconstrued of facts. You cannot judge Black people successes and their lack of development and their lack of advancement on the basis that everything, there were rules, laws instituted upon Black people to make sure that they do not level up to white people, up to the Western world. In South Africa, you've got close to about 100
Hang tight for me real quick.
He's not wearing a suit while he cries.
Hang tight. Hey, well, thank you so much for the $10 cash app. Yes, don't worry about it, buddy. He said apologies again, CC. All right, go ahead, Mizzuzi. I gotta read it. Go ahead.
in South Africa, there were laws that made sure that black people don't receive the right education. There were laws that made sure that black people don't participate in the economy of the country. There were laws written on the basis that black people must not stay in well-developed areas. They were put in concentration camps called townships, which are labor camps in any way. So you cannot usher those kinds of statements based upon the laws that prevented black people's success and development and their advancement.
And that's part of the reason why I asked the question. So I think all the white people on the panel kind of agree that advancement is done through conquest. So should nations around the world who have had issues with Europeans seek to kill those people, right? Because when you talk about Idi Amin running people out of his country, it's viewed as this evil, horrible thing. But I'm listening to you all say war and conquest is what's required for advancement. So should we be trying to kill you? It's an honest question.
No, the thing is, Walter, you can laugh at that. And you sure as shit can try. You know that the white man has built the most deadliest weapons on the face of the planet, and you can go ahead and pick up your AK-47 or your AR-15 and pretend that you can try to kill the white man. The white man can kill you back so much more.
We were prevented to make sure we do not build advanced weapons. We were prevented. Come on now. We can mess up, we can level up, we can advance to that same level. We were prevented economic-wise. We were prevented to make sure we do not have resources to build those weapons.
Ms. Uzi, because this is the eve of White History Month, I do have to ask you a question. What prevented the Africans from building weapons of mass destruction, networks of communication to prevent, people from coming into the country, to the continent itself? What prevents the African from securing the coastline of Africa before the Arabs and the Asians? Why didn't our ancestors do that thousands of years ago?
We have to call.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to answer this question this way.
The
current situation, as an example, Iran currently is being prevented to build a nuclear weapon.
Right.
Isn't it?
Right. I got that. But if the African had been in Africa, yes, I would agree with you on that. But if the African had been in Africa far longer than many other groups on the planet, what prevented us?
We didn't have enough stuff.
What prevented us?
We have to calm down.
Right now,
let me answer you, City.
What
can I answer?
Yes.
Yes. When white people came in the coastline of the Cape of Good Hope in 1652, and they realized that African people are using old technology in terms of weaponry. We were using the spears and the shields. When they realized that they've got guns, which were weapons that are more advanced than our weapons, they realized that we need to conquer these people and settle the score before they advance and they see and they can duplicate the guns. During the point of contact, we were using old weaponry in terms of spears and shields. When they realized that, they made sure that they conquer us because our technology was low and theirs was.
Okay, let me try to do this question again. Maybe I'm not asking the question the right way. Maybe I'm not asking the question the right way. Mizuzi.
Yes.
Our people were isolated.
I
would even argue.
Hi.
Eons. The black men. We were isolated for 50, maybe 75. What stopped us from securing the continent? What stopped us from creating advanced civilization? What stopped us from having weapons of mass destruction 1,000 years ago? What prevented us, man? We have been on the continent for eons. What about that?
I got you on that.
What were our ancestors doing?
Yes, let me answer.
Okay.
Advancements, there are different periods in life where people advance. Guns had their own period of time where they were invented. And then before the guns, it was the spears. After the spears, it was the guns. From the guns, the nuclear weapons. So there are different stages in life where the human race advances through. So some of these things were kept away from us in the early age and the early stages of human existence. And as men and as we progress, our development progress. So we come up with new technology due to it is a succession and a series of inventions and advancement that human beings have during at different times and different periods in our human history. So I guess we as Africans, like Wall Street will say, we have plenty. There was no necessity for us to fight each other. We had everything in Africa. We had the sun, we had the food, we had the cattle, we had everything that was like not making us to go and conquer other worlds, other continents, because we had everything amongst ourselves. And as such,
you were lazy. You were lazy.
No,
Mathematics.
You were
we had
lazy.
I don't.
plenty.
No, we were focused on creating.
Make sure
If you were creating mathematics, buddy, you had engineering and not mud huts. See, that's the lie. Because if you were creating mathematics, you would fundamentally be able to use them to build buildings and not goddamn huts that were temporary. This is why you know people are lying. Because when a civilization reaches mathematical mastery, they build solid fucking buildings. Again, I gotta send you more money. You guys have no clue how ignorant you sound because you picked up a book because you heard something on the internet instead of getting a proper education. You should be ashamed your parents did this to all of yourself, and you should go out and figure out how to get an education before you get back on here and argue with people.
Damn.
Before Willie, but Susie, like this, it's even simpler than that. It's even simpler than that. The fact is, hold on, the point is, even on the basis of just
Rid of him.
the Africans never developed
Get
a
rid of
proper
him.
addition to bow and arrow than the basic stick that they sprung up, which they probably got from the Arabs. Because the Mongolians developed a weaker,
Be normal, no
the
creeping.
English developed a longbow, and yet no African
Okay,
nation
I will be
even
normal.
developed a bow and arrow that was better than that. In
Yeah,
order
be
to hunt, no, all I'm trying to tell you is you're saying, listen to me. You are trying to tell me that you guys had food and everything else. Listen to me. What I'm trying to tell you is that these are the basics of progression. No, listen, you said that the human race went from spears to guns. No, they
Okay,
didn't.
ask him
There
a
were several
question.
iterations of weaponry.
Do you want
for
to kick
hunting,
him out?
Not just for killing other people, for hunting food. You didn't even develop a better method of killing an animal. You didn't even develop a more efficient hunting weapon.
Yo, you know why? Because it's what do you call it? Transnational slave trade, right? Europe took millions of young, able-bodied Africans, and also delayed industrialization.
What the hell are you talking about? I'm talking about 1,000 years before the Atlantic slave trade.
No,
I'm talking about when the African man was walking the African plains like 2,000 years ago.
This is why it's not worth it. That's just
He's
why it
okay,
ain't worth
just
it, because
behave,
none of
okay.
them are
Jay, can you go on tonight and I can talk to you?
actual proper education.
Jay.
They demonstrate their ignorance.
Jiffy, how did y'all get out of school late?
Oh, that's the care about that.
Wait,
Get
wait.
out of the place. Get out of the place, Jiffy. I'm curious.
I was never a slave personally, so I can answer you that question.
So
But
the
most
Jews
people
don't say
believe
they
that.
were enslaved in Egypt.
Oh, yeah, we do. I never got to care about it. What do you want to go on about? Of course, why not care about us? Again, another day I'm happy to be a Jew and not the rest of y'all.
The Jews
You're
make the claim
Jewish?
that they were enslaved in Africa.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
I
What was
was
that?
happy during
What?
the Holocaust, not to be y'all.
Gimpy, tell us
Does
what
the
a Talmud.
Jews make the claim that they were enslaved in Africa?
Tell us what a Talmud, Gimpy. Gimpy, tell us
So
what
how
a
did you
Talmud.
get out of it? I'm curious when you
I
went
wasn't
to
there,
school.
but according to my people, God took us out.
Because it's a story, it's a lie. You were never enslaved in Egypt. It's never been proven. It's just your
Say
story.
God. I shouldn't have said
So
God.
when you
God.
put the narrative
This
there,
is
we
you
don't
is
know
not
nothing.
Jesus.
When you put the narrative there, we don't know
I
nothing.
get it. I get it. You can argue all you want about how you
You
dislike
are you
Jews and their
cooking
story.
steak
It
and
doesn't
what?
make everyone who has run their mouth here any less educated than they've already demonstrated with their own stupidity, Willie. And you're bringing this up only shows that you have nothing to do but make ad hominem. Dude, I'm not going to tell you where I went to school. I have more degrees in my own hand than you. Okay, I went to Hofstra University. Yes, that is. I'm a New Yorker, buddy.
I'm not surprised. So, hold on. I have one really important question. What is the need for a white history month? And I'm going to preface that by saying, is it just to be like black people? Because if you ask me why we needed Black History Month, we were taken from a land, we were subjugated, we weren't allowed to read, literally weren't
I'll
allowed
answer.
to
I'll
So we had
answer.
to be
I'll answer
taught,
your question.
right?
I'll answer your question, everybody. I want you first to know I'm not talking about some goddamn hillbilly in the backwoods of Tennessee chewing tobacco. I ain't talking about random white. I'm talking about a philosophy, an idea. I'm talking about a civilization, which is Western civilization, that literally has taken this planet to heights that are just unimaginable. Hold on. Let me just answer you. If it were, I gotta say this, man. If it were not for whites, bro, and I'm gonna say this as a black person, our black asses would be in mud. Hold on, let me finish. Our black asses would be in mud. Our black asses would be shitting outside of these mud. Your black. Let me finish. Or let me just finish. Let me finish. Our people didn't have any written history. Our people didn't have any advanced systems, man. It's up there now. I'm not knocking it, but there's something that is unique about Western civilization. Everything from its technology, innovation, it takes the primitive man and it civilizes him or her. And it ain't just blacks. It ain't. Are you gonna let me? I'm being serious. It ain't just the Indian people. Even white people benefited. Well, a lot of whites in Europe were backwards. The feast even talked about this. A lot of these whites were illiterate archards for the most part, sweeping up shit. But imagine a civilization that said the peasant even has a voice. We're gonna uplift the peasant by educating this baboon. Even the white peasant
Bro, I'm telling you, man, Western civilization needs to be preserved, man. And I'm talking about everything from its architecture, its music, its art. Bro, I went on live the other day, and I was in the art museum where I live at. Man, you should see the European wing of this museum. I mean, besides the Asian part, the European wing it's so breathtaking, bro, that me as a man who doesn't cry, every time I go here, I damn near want to drop a tear, looking at the oil paintings, the marble sculptures. Bro, I'm telling you, man. e- Listen, I'm not trying to big up white people. I'm not trying to big up some goddamn hillbilly, but I'm trying to talk about a culture, man, that is the greatest culture, it's the greatest civilization known to man, bro. And I believe, but let me just, I'm almost done. Five with the $5 cash app. Get these part says Allah. So when I say this, bro,
That's funny.
so when I say this, thank you so much, Bob, for the $5 cash app. So when I say this, bro, I'm saying it passionately because I want to be a steward of white culture. Because I see for myself what black culture, Middle Eastern culture, Asian culture is. It's not on the same level as white culture.
Oh, you're stopping.
Let me
Stopping.
finish. Let me finish. Let me just finish. Let me finish. It's not, bro. It's not. Even something as simple as the height of a curve on a sidewalk. Man, you go to some places, man, where there's no civilization, bro. The measurements are always off. People just do whatever they want to do. Congestion. Look at India, like a place like India. You mean to tell me a place like India, with all these smarty already Indians, they haven't figured out how to stop congestion yet? You go to almost any major city, man. Look at how even traffic flow. Man, that's the white mind, bro. Like everything about these people is incredible. Man, listen, bro. Even the height of a sitting in your home or a building. And bro, you don't see. Hold on, let me finish. Let me finish. Let me just finish. Let me just finish. What I'm trying to say is that white, the white mind,
Hey,
for
Matt.
some reason, is orderly. And I get it, man. You're gonna have to get over the whites that you live around. Some white, you know. I'm talking about the overall at large scale of whiteness. Bro, I'm telling you, man, there's beauty in these people's culture. There's beauty in their culture, man. Whether you like it or not, bro, those are just facts, bro. They've civilized the planet. Bro, for real, they really did. You need to tell me, check this out before I let you go. I'm gonna use Africa as an example. According to science, we've been around 100,000 years. You mean to tell me in 100 mother effing thousand years, in 100,000 years, running around with bows and arrows, living in mud huts, it took white civilization just 200 years to introduce methods of advanced sanitation systems, educational systems, building infrastructure systems to bring these primitive people into the future. And not just in Africa and other parts of the planet. Bro, that look at the Middle East. Man, before the discovery of oil by a lot of whites, man, what were the Middle Eastern really doing, to be honest with you, bro? Let's just be completely honest about it. This is torture. It's not torture, it's the truth, bro.
I'm not gonna
That's
argue
torture.
a number of the things you said, right? But when you think about going to a museum, I would definitely recommend going to the museum, right? You would have a whole different view of your people. Like you would be able to put that 200 years of whiteness in context of history and understand they were building on something. They were building on what? What we had created, things that we stole. That's a fact. But when I asked the question about the need for White History Month, I think if we really tallied up all the holidays that are pretty much all white in the year, we pretty much get a month. I mean, everybody from George Washington to Santa Claus, they're all white, right? So it's just weird when that culture is already highlighted, celebrated, you can't unsee it. Like it seems to be an inferiority complex, right? Well, if they have it, we have to have it too. And ours is going to be even better. and then we're gonna pass laws to kill theirs, and we're gonna kill black sisters anymore. It's just weird. It shows like a deep fundamental. And hearing you say that, bro, it's like, damn, yo, he has stage 4 crackatosis. Nah, I ain't being funny, but it's like, because I can see beauty in most cultures. You don't say all, but most, right? Just seeing this pristine white man is like, Jesus Christ, you get this guy in my life. I think he has stage 4 crackatosis, and at that point, it's permanent. Like,
well, hold on a second, Steve. Let's don't finish real quick. Go ahead.
What's up, Walker? You got really big. That's my man. I was just curious.
Yeah, so
Really, you want to go there?
I don't think you are.
Yes, yes, I do.
But
can you send me the link to it?
You think that I worship white just because, and I can tell you do. Bro, think about just something as our
no, post it in the private chat.
Our travel industry, right? Think about
post it in the private chat, or
right
I can do it like this.
Sky, there might be what, I don't know, 20,000 planes in our sky, right? Hey, I got think about right now, there's like 30,000 planes just in North American airspace. Think about how crazy this is. Two white men over 100 years ago, they developed one of the most incredible forms of transportation known to man. And in 100 years, you have tens of thousands of planes in air at all times of the day, 24 hours a day. And you may get a small passenger crash every day, every other day. Just think about the level of order, the level of thinking it takes to have a network of planes and order, a system of communication. Well, we didn't do that in Africa. We would have never done it, as far as I'm concerned. We would have never done it.
I subscribe to it.
I would love to stop getting cut off. Bro, it's not about worshiping any white guy. It's about
it's difficult, but also
the fact that if these systems were to collapse, man, it's not like the nightmare, the terror of having to live like Stone Age. It's horrifying. And that's where a lot of our people came from, to be honest with you, was the Stone Age, man. It was the Stone Age. White, black, Arabs, Indians. For the large part, bro, most of our ancestors lived very primitive. Very primitive. Now, you have some Israelites back in the day, pretty sure I'm pretty sure if you lived in the capital, you probably lived a better life than most people in the kingdom. I'm pretty sure if you lived in ancient Egypt, if you lived in the capital, you probably lived better than most people. But most of these people were animals.
I think
most of these whites were animals. Right. At one point, they were German tribes.
I really do. And the stories probably
the Romans had to civilize these barbarians.
Than they ever will to the readers, no matter how much they appreciate it. As a matter of fact, as few light pieces as I have, there's one light piece that most people who read it they love this piece. Especially the native people I know. They particularly love animation section. They love this piece. They just love it to death. But to me, it's a story about my grandmother.
Or up until that point, this is like 150 years ago.
So that's
the Londoners would take their buckets of shit and pour it into the tents. That was only 150 years ago. This is how people lived. They used to chuck the buckets of piss into the street from their upstairs. That's how people were living 150 years ago.
The freak with the $5 cash shop says, when do we start kicking
you don't know what.
All right, go ahead.
Push people out, and you get glimpses in there like that says,
the Africans did. The more
And I don't know who I am anymore. Myself on the black from the shelf to stop recognizing me because what?
Sorry to interrupt. There's someone back.
The Romans, the Greeks, the aqueducts, the Romans built the aqueducts. Africans didn't teach English people shit.
This is what I'm saying. This
Hi.
is what a proper education is.
Samantha. I'm friends with Matt.
And Greece and the people at aqueducts.
Yes. 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 Yes.
They literally had Gothic churches.
So what are we talking about?
You are making.
Oh, we were just talking about writing.
Writing about what? Like I'm new here.
He said that Batman, a pair above us in the middle, he said that he writes to get people to think. And I was saying I think I just write for storytelling purposes, but the story that the reader reads is never quite the story.
Sorry, that's my account.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine. No, I know you're friends with Matt. Yeah. Matt's fine.
Can he come up on a panel? Like, when do you guys do this? Like, can you tell me
Maybe every day. Of course, every day.
I need to know, like, what your channel is about. Like, I'm just.
It's mainly like theological, like religious debate. Kind of, but then it gets into general chat as well. So, yeah. It's kind of random, but they'll see him at the human. Yeah, and Stinky, I will make you a moderator.
Thank you.
Yeah. I didn't know you were friends with Matt the Human.
Yes.
So I had yeah.
And then, do you go live like every single day around what time?
It's not every single day, and it varies whenever I'm away, basically. I sleep, I sleep at weird times, so it's varied, and I don't go live every single day.
Okay.
But yeah. But you're welcome anytime.
So thank you.
Anytime I'm like, if you subscribe and get the notifications, then yeah, you're welcome to join anytime.
And then I am Batman. He writes what? A story about.
Oh no, I think it was picture. Yeah,
Right.
picture.
We both read, yeah.
Stories and poetry or commentary on like various philosophical stuff, pretty much.
That's cool.
And well, I just made you a moderator.
Thank you.
So if you want to post anyone,
Do you know what I mean by Batman when I say like the story they read is not necessarily the story I'm telling?
Yeah. Because I've done that.
I think I think that's most of my writing, and I mean from my poetry to my short stories, even to the book I'm writing. Right? You won't see it because you'll just see a story, but I know where all the pieces are. So it's almost therapeutic for me in a way because I'm getting things out, but you're just getting the story. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, nice to see you, Matt. Always good to see you. Matt the Human is already. Yeah. Batman is a wonderful thinker in person. That is true. Yeah, I can't remember that. So,
I try to practice. And like one of the things that I like to do is that like I try to parse out I wouldn't necessarily call them contradictions a lot of the time in how ideas or concepts might clash, but more so I kind of look to see how they could coexist in some kind of way, right? Even though they might exist as opposites. For example, it's like the inherent idea that like so as a still a new writer, technically speaking, I guess, right? You haven't published yet. But I would people who I have spoken to, right, where they're saying, hey, listen, if you want to, for the story, you don't necessarily like make your story deep. But I'm like, the point of the stories, the point, it's not about like stuff being deep. It's more so what I'm trying to convey, right?
Yeah.
But whatever I'm trying to convey can be both surface level, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. That's the way to make it. Like, yeah, you can read it, and every person that reads it will say something different. So that, like, yeah.
Well, you know what a good example of that is? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
A good example of that, and I haven't read it yet, and I want to read it. It is on my list. Is Blind Sight. Now, it's a fictional sci-fi story, but it's supposed to deal with a lot of philosophy because of the way it's told. Yeah.
And to be fair, like there's truth in that. Like these things can scare people away. As a matter of fact, Aiden brought up a really point where we were talking about scaring people away, right? And Aiden brought up a really good point where we were talking about that theory, right? And you know that after that science that theory, you know that after Messiah.
I would argue before that. I actually think that all the movies and which is why I'm glad that the series going on right now didn't make this mistake actually. But they all start at the time of Paul. And the problem is when you start at the time of Paul, you lose a couple of thousand years of history already.
Oh yeah.
And decisions and
That's good. Sorry.
Yeah, I find it. Cause I'm not gonna lie. It's rare for me to like pick up a story, right, and for me to like read it more than like 3 times.
Sorry to interrupt, but Matt's backstage. Hey, Matt. Good to see you, man. It's been on. Sorry about man. Sorry.
Hey, Matt, you like your new name? Ruben.
Good to see you, man. It's been on.
Cool, man.
Thanks, Noel.
Yes, hi, Mac. You're outside. Like, why, dude? Bro.
It's beautiful out.
Outside is better.
Yeah, it's been nice.
Wait. You look super different than before. Whoa.
Exactly.
Yes.
It's the lack of the beard.
Yes.
The lack of the beard.
Yes.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
I miss it. I miss the beard.
I was trying to yeah.
You kind of giving Jamie
Oh, let's make it not too embarrassing, but
I did not say Max looks bad at all. Max didn't look bad on a bad day, okay?
Yeah.
Max couldn't look bad on a bad day, but I still miss the beard.
You don't call it mustache.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
That's right.
Matt couldn't look bad. Yeah, on a good day.
That's right. Max couldn't look bad on a bad day.
Yeah.
But I still miss the beard.
Yeah.
My daughter says I'm in my mustache era.
Oh yeah, that is getting extremely false. Yeah, false is the best is getting the mustache.
Yeah.
Depending on which time you live, you know what I mean? Like in the 70s, everyone had a mustache. Yeah.